always very much felt it a privilege that the designated area, family, national parks and areas of outstanding natural beauty are part of my responsibilities at Defra, and therefore I'm absolutely delighted to be attending your conference, but I'm also very much looking forward to seeing another of the AONBs during the day at Cranbourne Chase. And I think one of the also very important opportunities I have of being not only here today, but during what I hope will be the very numerous times I shall be out and about, and I'm next week, all week, visiting national parks during National Parks Week, for instance. But occasions like this give me an opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to everyone in this room and all those that are working in this very important sector. And I thank you not only individually, but collectively, because of all that you're doing together in your areas. And I have to say, farming as I do just below the Chilterns Escarpment, I've over many years been very conscious of the responsibilities we have in our crowded islands to ensure that these simply wonderful parts of the country are safeguarded for future generations. So my message is a simple one, but sometimes simplicity, I think, has merit. And that is that these areas matter enormously. They matter because they're special places which we as a nation have chosen to protect. They're home to some of our most environmentally rich and scientifically important landscapes. And they matter because they're integral to the rural economy. They're where communities of people live and work, millions of people who visit these special places every year. And they matter, I think, because they're beautiful. And to spend time in these landscapes does fuel our well-being and nurture our health. And I was particularly struck by some of the words said earlier during today's session. Mental and physical health. The fact that volunteers, very often some who would have a lonelier life experience, who the volunteering which they undertake, working together with people, actually count as some of the issues that are very often profound in rural communities. So there are all sorts of reasons why these places that you work so hard to ensure continue are so important. And the government has set what I think is a responsible challenge for itself and us all, which is that we as a government are committed to making sure that we're the first generation that leaves the environment in a better state than we found it. Indeed, conserving, and I emphasise enhancing, our designated landscapes, covering nearly 25% of England and containing some of our most precious habitats, is clearly integral to achieving this challenging aim. And leaving the European Union does not change this objective. Indeed, I have to say, whatever one's view on leaving the European Union, I think we now do have an opportunity, and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, to bring forward national policies to enhance our environment. And this cannot be done unless we all work in partnership, stakeholders being involved, as we've heard earlier, because I think that is the way we can develop the priorities both nationally and locally. So not only do I look forward to working with you all in the family, as it were, but I think across the rural community, it's absolutely clear that working in partnership, working together, discussing what proposals will be, finding what works best, those are the sorts of things that we need to do as a responsible government and a responsible parliament, given the decision of the electorate. So all of us have what I call is a collective challenge, as I've said, to conserve and enhance England's most precious landscapes at a time of change. This year, AONBs will receive over £6 million in grant and aid from the government. And I know that you are determined to ensure that public money is wisely managed. And also the partnerships you all have demonstrating that they're providing a return on what is, after all, taxpayers' investment. It's also imperative for AONB partnerships to look as widely as possible for new and additional sources of revenue. And more publicly funded organisations are showing that new and additional revenue can be gained from other sources. And again, I think that collaboration that we've heard earlier this morning is an example of that. And I think there are many inspiring examples of this in the North Pennines, Nidderdale, Forest of Bowland AONBs, where you've secured multi-million-pound funding from the public and private sectors for peatland restoration, for instance. In the Kent Downs and Suffolk Coasts and Heaths AONB, you've gained from commercial sponsorship revenue. And from Dedham Vale to the Shropshire Hills AONBs and others, you've conserved and enhanced natural beauty through Heritage Lottery Fund landscape partnerships, of which Ros has outlined this morning. There are, of course, many other examples you hold dear and have secured that I could give. But put simply, I think the more revenue that AONB partnerships can leverage beyond the core grant, the more you can do. And I have to say, I think from my experience of a lot of the other organisations for which I work, whether it's Q, whether it's a range of organisations, I actually think that the mixed funding model actually is a much more productive way of getting engagement. And this isn't because I'm not a statist, although I think the state has a leadership role and is hugely important, often as what I would call as seed corn. But whether it's work on invasive species, so in South Georgia, which I have been closely involved in, whether it's our project in Gough Island, for instance, all of what is involved in the restoration of habitats, whether it's in the overseas territories or whether it's here in this country. I think the mixed funding model is extremely exciting and a way of greater collaboration and being able to do more. And also, I think the strength that you all have is your connection with the very local communities that make these places so important. So you have the best direct understanding of the farmer, the conservationist, the parish councillor. They may, of course, each appreciate their landscape in a different way, through different lenses. And I think that the AONB board provides a forum where all these interests can come together as we seek to foster the interests of these exceptional places. And spanning the country from corner to corner, from Northumberland coast in the northeast to the Isles of Scilly, the Solway coast, the Kent Downs, your individual great strength is that you're part of the community and that you're working together, understanding these specific landscapes the best. And working together, I think, will be more important than ever. You bring your individual voice, but with the experience you all have of your 34 wonderful parts of the country, I think there is an enormous value in your conference today and the collaboration you have in exploring what has worked well for you, indeed what might not have worked well for you, and getting the best solutions from that. And that's why the National Association of AONBs, from my own perspective, works well as a means for me to understand in the best way I can how, by working together, you're speaking with one voice. But it provides me with also, in turn, a powerful voice with my ministerial colleagues and government more generally. So I think there can be no more important work than the challenge we have ahead in preserving our most precious and under pressure landscapes. And leaving the European Union is a challenge, but we must now take the opportunity as we can to be even better stewards of the natural environment. I'm very keen on the use of the natural environment to help us through many of the issues, and I remember Slow the Flow, Pickering, Yorkshire. These are the sorts of ways natural capital, increasingly we need to see the advantages so that, yes, with flooding, we may need to have some concrete in certain places, but natural capital is also an important part of our investment. And I also recognise the enormous challenge of the need to provide more homes across the countryside, and while also securing what is clearly such important landscapes. And I place great importance, therefore, on local communities conceiving of their own villages being enhanced by sensitive, locally based housing development. And I think in the countryside, I know we're going to have to build more houses, but I actually think villages under pressure, whose school roles are in question, what better than an attractively designed local development encouraged by the parish council, providing homes for people who wish to live and work in the countryside. So I think there are all sorts of advantages in local communities playing their part in enlivening their communities for the future. There are no easy answers, there never are, because of the complexity of all we're seeking to achieve, but I'm absolutely clear that we are, as a government, committed to the integrity of the designation yours and the national parks have. And while we set a framework at national level, the strength of the AONB partnership, I think also is its rootedness, its grounding at the local level. And that's so often why best solutions can be found by local authorities, businesses and communities working at securing what are the local needs. I think the AONB is a trusted brand, and I think will be enormously influential in achieving this aim. As AONB partnerships and conservation boards, you have faced pressures in your organisations, I'm well aware, in recent years. But I think there are many examples through those challenges of where brilliant work is being done and will continue to be done. In many cases, this goes beyond, I think, your core purpose to conserve and enhance natural beauty, showing how effective AONB partnerships and conservation boards can be to make things happen in your local community. So AONB partnerships have helped to support local businesses. I'm very conscious in Arnside, Silverdale, you've promoted local food and produce through the Taste of Landscape Festival. In the Forest of Bowland, you have developed a long-term programme to support tourism, which is now in the mainstream of your management plan. And there are initiatives to preserve heritage in the Shropshire Hills and the Wye Valley through the Character of Our Coast project in North Devon. You have encouraged and encourage natural beauty to inspire through the arts, as we heard very much from Paul Bristow earlier. And AONBs have served their local communities. So last year, the Dorset AONB won the Bowland Award for Stepping into Nature project, delivering health and well-being benefits for older people, including those with dementia and their carers. And the Howardian Hills AONB, volunteers have worked alongside a training and employment scheme for adults with learning difficulties, undertaking conservation, access and recreation projects. So there are many examples, and you will all have many examples coming to your minds, and I should perhaps name them all, but we'd be here for a very long time. All I want to say is that you have my gratitude and respect for the broad initiatives that you're taking forward, which I think are such a force for good. We all have ambitions and we need to look ahead, and I've used words like challenges, and we're all wrestling with them. But we do need to grasp and be positive about some of the opportunities. And I do have to say, for me, and I have to declare an interest as a farmer, is we need to work hand in hand with farmers and landowners who, after all, have been stewards over many generations of these precious landscapes. And it is interesting to me how often people do not see the reason for the variety of landscapes we have. We have so much more that we can do and we see because of the agricultural systems of the various parts of the country. And I think what I've so often remarked when you travel in many parts of the globe for 200 miles and you see the same landscape, in England, because of differing agricultural systems over the generations, you see such an extraordinary variety of landscapes in what is such a short amount of miles. So farming, in my view, is at the backbone of the countryside, and it is also the backdrop of so much that makes it attractive for visitors. It helps, as I say, to attract tourism, both domestic and international. And to me, because we do want visitors both domestic and international, just how many people abroad observe one of the reasons they want to come into this country and visit it is because of our glorious countryside. So we do need to work together, not only to protect these landscapes, but I think to enhance their natural beauty. We need to work together to come forward with proposals to secure them for the long term. And we should surely be attracting people from all parts of the country, from all backgrounds, to visit these places and to see these landscapes as important to them too. So the importance of the rural economy and the vibrancy of communities are all key components that we need to work together to secure a positive future. With all the scope you have within your own individual AONBs to bring people together with a common purpose of conserving and enhancing natural beauty, I think you all have a pivotal role to fulfill and play. You're all here together, and I think there was the word passion, but because of your passion and determination, not perhaps because just of your local affection for your own landscapes, but because I know you understand their role across the piece in our national life. So I think that safeguarding these outstanding areas for the future is our generation's responsibility. The success of our stewardship will be how we are judged by the generations that succeed us. So I think we should be ambitious. We must be ambitious, so that we can all say together, I believe, that we have played our part in handing over to the future generations such glorious and various parts of the country in good heart. I believe that's a traditional thing to do, but I think it's entirely contemporary in its aspirations, and I wish you well not only for the rest of the day's conference when you will be exploring how you're seeking to fulfill these responsibilities that you have, but I do wish you all ingenuity in finding ways of ensuring that you feel that you are in the best position to work with people to enhance these wonderful parts of our country, which I think we are tremendously fortunate in these very, very crowded islands to have still secured, with all the changes we've heard. We saw some of the interpretation of what is happening to our planet, actually on one of the most crowded parts of the planet. If we can enhance our environment, if we can produce a better environment with all the challenges that the large population we have in these crowded islands, we will actually have done a very fine job. And I look at you all because you've come forward in so many respects and said, I'd like to do my bit. And I want to really say that the state has a leadership role, but you have an absolutely pivotal role that I think is absolutely essential to achieving all the objectives I know we share. So thank you very much.